will temporarily deploy about 700 Marines in Los Angeles in a bid to bolster security amid the violent protests against President Donald Trump's immigration enforcement policies. As the protest enters the fourth day, the deployment, described as temporary, is intended to support the National Guard forces who are already on the ground, and the number of troops is expected to swell to a 2,000 by midweek. However, the Pentagon has not yet invoked the Insurrection Act, which would permit direct military involvement in law enforcement, a line that officials say they are currently avoiding. In fact, messages also come in from Donald Trump. This comes at a time when there has been a very, very clear political fight that has been playing out as well. We saw violent protests on the streets of LA, and here's what Donald Trump has said. We made a great decision in sending the National Guard to deal with the violent instigated riots in California. If we had not done so, Los Angeles would have been completely obliterated. The very incompetent governor, Gavin Newsom, and Mayor Karen Bass should be saying, "Thank you, President Trump. You are so wonderful. We would be nothing without you, sir." And this is what he goes on to say, saying instead they choose to lie to the people of California and America by saying that we weren't needed and that these are peaceful protests. Just one look at the pictures and videos of violence and destruction tells you all you have to know. We will always do what is needed to keep our citizens safe, so we can together make America great again. So he has spoken about the California governor, who in fact said that the force should not have been brought in. My colleague Rishabh is joining us on the broadcast with the details. Srinjoy Chaudhary also on the broadcast with us. Srinjoy, there has been a political face-off that has been playing out with California, even mulling legal action against President Trump. But 2,000 National Guard troops have been deployed in Los Angeles after the violent protests broke out on the streets. Take us through the update.
Well, first of all, there's been talk about American soldiers, the Marines on the streets of LA. You can understand the Marines in Vietnam or Afghanistan or Somalia or various places. But in Los Angeles, well, it just shows how bad the situation might be and how political the situation is. As it is, the National Guard is on the streets, and there seems to be a clear fight going on between the center, which is the Donald Trump government, and the Gavin Newsom government in California. Now, California is one of the bluest states, one of the most democratic states in the United States. It's also the largest. At this point, if California were a country on its own, it would be the 5th or 6th largest country in the world. But at this point, fights have broken out in LA. There is fighting on the streets, the National Guard is there, and it's a wholly messy situation. Now, there is political capital to be made on both sides. Donald Trump is saying that this is insurrection, and at this point, it is important to have the National Guard. Otherwise, the city would be burnt down. On the other hand, the Democrat governor, Newsom, is saying that things are under control. Well under control, and therefore all this that the president himself is saying is exaggerated. So this is a sign of how divided America is. You have, as President Obama had said once, you have the red states and the blue states. But the question is, how about the United States? That is what President Obama had said. And that is in front of all of us today, because you have a Republican president, you have a Democrat governor, you have fighting in the streets, and you have both sides blaming each other.
Absolutely. In fact, the U.S. President Donald Trump ordered 2,000 National Guard troops to take control of the situation in Los Angeles because the violent unrest entered the second day. And in fact, Paramount area in LA has been witnessing clashes between the protesters and the personnel of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, over raids on undocumented immigrants. It began as an operation near the Home Depot to arrest illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds, ending up expanding to more people being checked for allegedly being history cheaters. And as many as 118 arrests were made in LA this week as a result of the ICE operations, including 44 on Friday. So residents who are dominantly Latinos took to the streets demanding ICE to go back and pelting stones at the border patrol personnel, visuals of which have been going viral on social media, which show how the officials had been targeted. In fact, we're breaking updates now coming in. The California governor has upped the ante with attacks on Trump. In fact, he has decided that he will be filing a lawsuit against Trump. So like we mentioned, legal action is what is being mulled, as we've been talking about how the United States has been fractured politically as well after the violent protests and after these guards were deployed there, the National Guard being deployed there. The governor has responded, the same person who has been referenced by President Trump in his tweet as well. So Gavin Newsom has now taken to social media to say, LA, your voice matters. Trump is trying to provoke chaos by sending 4,000 soldiers onto American soil. Foolish agitators who take advantage of Trump's chaos will be held accountable. Stay safe, stay calm, look out for one another. This is the message that has come in from the governor. In fact, indicating that he will be taking legal action as well. In fact, Srinjoy continues to stay live with us. Srinjoy, like we mentioned, now LA mulling action, the California governor who has been referenced by Trump in his tweet as well. And there have been time and again face-offs that have taken place between the two. But in this case, where there is security of the people, here Trump says that we need to deploy the soldiers there, whereas the California governor now says that I will initiate legal action against President Trump. How could this play out?
Well, first of all, there are some Marines in California, and it's entirely possible that under certain circumstances they can be deployed. But the whole point is this deployment really necessary? Is it a necessary evil, or is it more evil than necessary? Now, there are two different views here, because the president himself says that it has to be done because things are getting out of hand. On the other hand, you heard what the governor said, that this was not necessary at all. And he, in fact, told the people of LA not to be totally overawed by the fact that there were National Guard people on the streets. So at this point, it's a very difficult situation because there is a clear difference, a clear political difference. You have a Republican president and Trump at that, and you have Gavin Newsom, who is a Democrat in charge of a very, very blue state. So at this point, there is a clear difference between the views of a Democrat governor and a Republican president.
Okay, all right, and that's what we see play out. But Srinjoy, as far as the crackdown on the illegal Mexicans is concerned, something that President Trump has spoken about, take us through what's the update on that. There has already been a huge crackdown with many of them also being taken into custody by ICE. What are the details? How could that play out, especially considering the fight back that was seen ended up in such violent clashes?
First of all, there are many, many thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants in the United States. About that, there is no doubt. And many of them have come across the Rio Grande from Mexico into the United States. Others from other countries, perhaps in Central America and even South America, have got to Mexico and then crossed over to the United States. So if you look at California, these states, California, Texas, there are lots of illegal immigrants and they have to be sent back. But the question is, you have to find the right people, you have to ensure that they are arrested, and then you send back. But as a result of this, there has been this huge riot Now,
absolutely. Violence on the streets. Shrinder, my apologies, we'll have to leave it at that because it has resulted in the violence, but Trump has said that the crackdown is going to continue.